All right, welcome back, everyone. I'm pretty excited for today's episode. We are going to be doing some spawning. So let me just show you what we're going to be doing real quick. So I've made a house. We have the would you like to spawn? You say yes, and something spawns, and it spawns randomly around our house. And then we can select them and move them. And then when I click no, it unselects the house and deletes the spawn thing. Awesome. So let's get started. The first thing I'm going to do right away is I did this. I never did this, but we're going to add a background by adding a texture rectangle. And then in here, we're just going to find our grass. We're going to use grass 1, and we're going to use stretch mode tile. If your grass has tile set or an actual tile on it, this is what you would want to do. So let's just expand this as big as you want. And then let's put it in the back and lock it. And now we have a nice grass background. Next thing we're going to do is I figured out why sort. This took me a bit of tinkering. But basically, we want to make sure that the world, the actual scene, like here, is ordered in Y sort enabled. And then we also want to go here, go to ordered, here, go to ordering. And now we should be able to sort it properly. So yeah, now it's sorted properly. So now it's in front or behind. So if I can actually test it here as well. So here it's behind the tree and here it's in front of the tree. Awesome. And this will help us with our house as well. So let's create our house. Let's go here and we are going to create a static body. And this is going to be our house because it's static, it doesn't move. We're going to create a collision shape for it. I'm going to zoom in. Let me check what else I need. And that is it. However, we do need house. Actually, I'm going to do barrack, and you can do whatever you want. I'm going to do the wooden one. I'm actually going to double this, make it 2 times bigger than it actually is. And then the animation is going to be 4 by 5. There we go. And now we have a house. We just need to give it a collision shape. So a new rectangle. There we go. And then we'll save it and we will put it, let's create a file for this. We'll say houses. We'll save it as barb house. So barbarian house. I'll name it barb house. There we go. And then let's just give it a script. And we're not going to do anything here yet. Let's actually close all these scripts that we have. Let's go back to our world and let's set that up. So we want a node 2D to hold all the houses. So let's name that houses. Let's go to ordering and make sure we enable Y sort. And now we can just add our house. So let's do that. Let's find it. It should be in houses. Here it is. So now if I just add it, it'll be in our house. And the Y sort should work properly. So if it's in front, it'll be in front. And if it's behind it, it'll appear behind it. So that's awesome. Okay, next thing, what do we want to do? Let's move the trees to the side a bit. Let's see. We want to. Next thing we're going to do is go to our house. We want to. I'm not sure what happened to merge. Merge is no longer a thing, but the way I did this was I got the node unit, and then I just make local, and then I take the box. This is what I wanted, this unit box here. And I'm going to move this in front. I'm going to move it to the front here, and the layout transform, I don't think, oh, there we go. Yeah, we'll do 32 by, actually, and we'll do 34 by 34. Just so it kind of looks like it's outside of it. Okay, there we go. So that way we have our selected. I'm actually going to change this to selected. And then I'm going to go into my script, and there's a few things we're going to have. So let's delete the ready function. We don't need that. And we're going to create 3 variables. One is going to be mouse entered. So this is pretty self-explanatory. It's going to tell us if the mouse has entered the house. And then we're going to have an onReady variable called select. And this is just our get node selected. And then we're also going to have a variable called, what is it? Selected. selected equals false, and we'll implement that later. So that's just going to tell us if our house is selected or not, right? Next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to change something in grouping. This took me a bit of tinkering to figure out, but basically what we want to do, there's two things that we have to change. So the first thing is we no longer want this group here. We want, like, hold on. We want to add it in our ready function. So we're going to actually delete this, and we're going to go to our ready function and add to group units, and we're going to pass through true. I forgot what this does, but you can look it up. I remember looking it up, but I forgot. And that is it. So now, if I delete all of these guys, or let's actually not delete them, let's just leave one to make sure this still works. So now if I select it, it still works properly. So it's not added in the group technically, but we add it in the group once we do the ready function. Now, here's the second thing we need to change. Because we are trying to add units, no, you know what? Ignore what I just said. We'll keep going, and then I'll try to let you figure out the bug. There's a reason why there's a big bug that will kind of hit soon. So let's get ready, or let's get right into this. Okay. The first thing we want to do is create a menu of sorts to actually have our unit spawn, right? So we're going to have this spawn unit be global in a sense. So we want to be able to have one menu for all the units that we want to spawn in the future. So right now we're spawning a barbarian, but we want to be able to call or pass through a few things and just edit this one scene. So that way we have one scene for different spawning units or whatever, right? So it's hard to explain, but we'll just get right to it. So you'll see what I mean in a second. So we'll name the spawn unit. We'll save it. We can put it in. Let's put it in global. And then in here, we're just going to add a panel. We're going to add a label. We're going to add 2 buttons. And then we're just going to duplicate that. This will be yes. This will be no. And then let's turn on grid snap and just move everything. So this will be here in the middle. Go to our label, or our button, I guess. This will be our yes label, so we'll say yes. And then our no label would be over here, so we'll take that, make it a little bigger. Let's actually make it the same size as that. Say no. We'll go to our label and say, would you like to spawn this unit? And then we will simply put a picture of our unit. So we're just going to put a sprite. We're going to go to our actual sprite unit that we used. We're going to go to champion and put this guy in. Animation should be 5 and 8, I think. And 8, there we go. And then we're just going to triple this. We're going to make it 3 times bigger. Actually, let's do 4, because why not? All right, there we go. So this is our menu. Oh, I guess we can delete that. And then in here, we're going to have a script. We're going to put it in the global. That's fine, not built in. We always want to be able to refer to it. And let's now, what am I doing? Node signals pressed. There we go. Let's connect our yes and no signal. So here we go. We have yes and no. For now, no, what we'll do is we'll just queue free. We're not going to do anything else. And then for yes, what we'll do is, let me just double check something. Okay, so now what we want to do is actually preload our unit. So here we'll say on ready variable unit equals preload. And we can find our unit. It's not in here. I'm just going to find it here and drag it in. Unit. There we go. So we preloaded our unit that we actually want to spawn. So now what we want to do is actually spawn that unit when we say yes, right? So when we say yes, what are we going to do? We are going to, we're going to actually initialize it. So variable unit1, just so it's not the same name, we'll say unit dot instigate, I don't know. And then we'll just say add child unit 1. This is how we add a child. However, we don't want to add the child here. We want to add the child into the units section, right? So to get that, there's a few different ways we can do that. The way I did it is I'm going to just copy this world units path. Here we go. So we're going to get tree, get root, and then get node world units. You can also find it by doing get node, whatever works. This is just, I don't know, a little easier to find it. So now we have the unit path, and so we can say unit path dot add child. However, we also want to change the position of our unit. So we're going to say unit 1 dot position equals vector 2, and we'll say 200, 200 for now. Okay. Now our spawn unit should work, but we don't have anything in there yet. So let's go to our global function game, and we're going to add a function in here that allows us to actually add that spawn unit, right? So we're going to have to preload it. Say on ready variable spawn equals preload spawn unit. Awesome, showed up right there. Do that, and then we'll add a function called spawn unit, and then we will just say variable spawn unit equals spawn dot instantiate. Yeah, instantiate it. Nice. I'm very good at English. English is in fact my first language, so I should be able to say it. All right, so spawn unit dot add child spawn unit. Now the question is, where do we want to add this guy? Because right now we're in the global. This is a global node, so we don't want to add this child in a global node. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the same trick. We're going to get our path to our UI. So we're going to say variable path is equal to get tree, get node, get tree, get root, get node, world.ui. So if you're wondering how I got that, it's right here. So world/UI. So now we have our UI node, and now we can go to our game and say path.addChild. So that's where we want to add it. So now there's absolutely no way we can call this function. So let's actually call this in a ready function somewhere. Let's just add it right here. Oops. So now, game dot spawn unit. So now when I play, this should pop up. I say yes, and it'll find. No, sorry, it's just a fixed point. So now it just spawns it. Yeah, so it spawned our unit, so it works. You can keep saying yes. If we go to our remote world unit, it spawned a bunch of them. They're all in the same position, so it doesn't seem like we've added a bunch, but it does work. And we can say no, and it just queues free. Okay, so we pretty much have spawned a unit. Awesome, let's keep going. There's a few things left. Okay, there's a bug. We cannot select the unit. As you might have noticed, if I say yes, and I zoom in, I cannot select him. I can select this one, but not this one. How come? I want you to pause and think, why can't I select it? Like, actually think about this, because this actually took me a few minutes to figure it out. I was like kind of frustrated. I thought the problem was with groups, but it is not. The groups is working, but it's related to groups. I'll give you that. That's my hint. There's a problem related to the groups. Okay, hopefully you've unpaused and thought about it and you figured it out. The problem is because we set the units array here to get nodes in group only when we have the ready function. And this is a problem because we've added more units to our group, but we haven't added them here. So what we can do, there's a few different solutions to this. You can add them to the units as well in the array when you add the unit, or what I did is, I feel like it's a bit easier, honestly. We're just going to add a function called, let's delete this, we don't need that anymore. We'll say function get units function, and then we'll take this guy, and then we're going to, first, we're going to erase our current array, and then we're going to make it equal to this. I don't actually think you need to do that, but I don't know. I'm going to do that anyways. And then in our ready function, we can just call the get units function instead. And now what we can do is in our spawn unit, whenever I add, here, wait, let me double check where I did this actually. Yes, I did it here. Okay. So now we also want our world path. So the same thing, we're just going to get world path equal to node, get node world instead of units. The reason we're doing this is because now we can access this script right here, right? So now we can go into our units and say world path dot unit get units. Units, there we go. And make sure you do this after you add it. If you do it before you add the child, it's not going to add you as you're adding this child. It's after you added the child, it added it to the group. And getting units before you've added anything to the group does not do anything. So make sure the order of this is proper. So if I did this here, it wouldn't work. Okay. Next thing we're going to do, I think that is technically it. Now let's randomize this. So we want the position to be around the house that we selected. So there's a way we can do this. First of all, let's create a new variable called house position. And this will just be equal to vector 300, 300. That'll be our default, just in case there's nothing. And then we'll say house position plus vector 2, random position x, and then we'll say random position y. Except this isn't dot, this is comma. Okay, now we actually need to get the random position x and random position y. So how do we do this? Well, luckily Godot has a built-in randomizing function. So I'm just going to copy it over right now. So first we have RNG equals random generator dot new. You can do this outside the yes function actually, but I'm going to put it inside. We're going to randomize it, and then we're going to, let me just copy this over. We're going to actually get our random position x and random position y. And the random range is going to be between -50 and 50. And yeah, so this should work. However, no, this should work. Let's just try it. So we have to actually call the thing. So spawn unit. So yes, and it'll randomly put it around the point 300, 300, right? However, this is not around our house. So how do we get it to our house? There's a few different ways we can do this. The way I do this, it's pretty simple actually. Instead of, here, let me find it. Where is it? Okay. So now let's actually finish our barb house. So how do we get to this and go to our barb house? So luckily, our barb house has a function called mouse entered. This is perfect because this is what we want. And then we'll say mouse entered and mouse exited. And then if in our input function, which we do not have, so we'll say input if event dot is action pressed left click if mouse entered equals true, then we will spawn it. Now we just want to say mouse entered is false if I exit the house, and then mouse entered equals true if I enter it. And that is it. That should work. The only other thing is we now want to say selected equals not selected. So we're going to make our selected equal to not selected. If we're going to, yeah, so this just sets it to the opposite. So if it was true, it's going to be false. If it was false, it's going to be true. However, we don't want to spawn a unit every time it's selected. So we're going to check if selected is equal to true. There we go. So if it's true, then we'll spawn it. Okay. And then just to make sure, we'll say selected. Select dot visible equals selected. So if selected is true, we want our select to be visible, to be true. Sorry. So by default, this should be false. In fact, actually, I don't have to change that. It can be visible because it starts as false, so it should be false by automatically. And now it's false. If I click it, nothing happens because in our selected, I always forget this, but a panel always stops our mouse. So always keep that in mind. What does that mean? It means in our mouse function, if you go to our selected panel, go to mouse, filter, stop. It means it's stopping anything from going into this thing. So we're going to say pass or ignore. I think pass is better. And let's play. So now if I click, nothing happens. Why is that? What is going on? Oh, I remember. We need to go to input and say it's pickable. Sorry. Last thing. Now it should work. Okay. Now if I unselect it, it makes a billion of these, but that's okay. We're not going to worry about that right now. So if I click no a bunch of times, it keeps free all of them. Awesome. So we have a somewhat working system, but we want to be able to pass through our position of our house. So how can we do that? Well, we can just say position and pass through the position. Position. So let's pass through our position. And then in our spawn unit function, we have to actually be able to say that. So let's pass through position and say, let me double check my reference. Yeah, okay. So now what we can say is spawn unit dot, no, sorry. Yeah, spawn unit, it's not a function, dot house position equals position, or position, here we go. So we're going to get this, where is it? We're going to go into this guy, say house position, right? From our global function, here we go, this guy is going to be equal to the position that we pass through, right? And so now, when I spawn it, it'll take that position and add a random variable. So now, if I go here, I select it and I say yes, it'll pop it around our house. Awesome. And we can select them and it works pretty much properly. Now, this is a little addition. How do I make it so that when I click no, it unselects our house, right? Because it's still selected. And if I unselect it, it doesn't pop it up, right? So it's kind of weird. So the way we can do this is actually quite easy. Let's see. We want to get our house path, and what we're going to get, let me actually just copy this so it's a little faster. House path equals get tree, get node, root, get world, houses. So we're getting the thing with our houses, right? So we're going to get all the houses basically. And then we're going to say for loop I in range, no, not range, in house path dot get child count. And then we're going to say if house path dot get child I dot selected is equal to true, then we're just going to say, copy this over because I don't want to retype it. We're going to say it's equal to false. So if it's equal to true, so what we're doing is we're going to basically loop through all the houses that we have and find the one that is selected. If it is selected, then we're going to make it to false. And that's it. So we don't really have to do anything else, right? We just have to double check that this is spelled correctly. So we'll select it here and select it here, and it is spelled correctly. Awesome. So now if I go here, I say no, it unselects it, right? So if I had another house, so let's duplicate this, put that there, let's play. If I had it here, this one is selected. If I say no, it'll unselect it, and not this one, right? Because this one's not even selected anyways. So that can work properly. That's how we can have several houses. This isn't perfect, obviously. There's still a lot to do. Obviously, one of the bugs that you might have noticed already is we can keep clicking it and keep spawning a bunch of things. This is actually let's actually fix that right now. How we can do that is go to barb house. We can go to here. We can do that in our global, which is awesome. Let's say if path dot get, let's for loop in get path dot get child count. If path dot get child I dot name is equal. Do we want to say name? No, we'll say as. I wonder if this works actually. Let's see if this works. Has node. What does has node pass through actually? I don't remember. Has node path. Let's try this. Let's see something. Let's maybe check something. So here, let's go to world. I have to actually create it. So go here, UI. Here we go. We have the spawn unit. And basically, I want to check if this already exists. So we're going to for loop through our path. So get child count, we for loop through it, and we're going to say if, yeah, we're just going to say name. So if path dot get child I dot name is equal to, no, not equal to, okay, sorry, I forgot how to do this. Here we go. In, so spawn unit. If it's in it, then we'll say pass. Yeah, no, okay. So what we'll do is we'll say has spawn equals false. So by default, hopefully it doesn't have it. If it does, we'll find it and say it's equal to true. There we go. And then after, we'll say if equals true. No, sorry. If it's false still, then we'll add it. Okay, so what have we done? So we've gone through our path. So our path here is our path UI, right? So we're going to go through all the children that exist here. So right now there's 3. So it'll for loop 3 times. And then we're going to see if our spawn unit is in that name, is in any of those names. So is it in here? No. Is it in here? No. Is it in here? Yes. If it is, we'll say has spawn equals true. If has spawn is false, then we'll add it. If it's true, then nothing happens. And yeah, that's it. You know what? Let's not instantiate it unless it's true. So let's add this here as well. So yeah, there we go. Now we should not get any errors. So now if I go here, it still works. If I click again, nothing should happen. It should only pop up once. I click yes, and that's it. Awesome. It now works. Yeah, that's it. Okay, this was a long video. It was almost 30 minutes, but that's it. We have a pretty cool working system. Next video, I might add a counter to how many units we want to add. That would be kind of cool. Actually, it might not be next video, but eventually we might get to that. We'll implement a few other things. We might do a resource house as well. So we have a house that spawns units, but how do we get resources, right? We might either we can get it by trees, obviously, or maybe we want like a coin system. So we can actually add another currency, which will be coins. So right now we have wood, right? But maybe we want coins, right? So we'll have a house that generates coins for us automatically, and we'll have like a nice timer that kind of goes with that. It'll be like a tween timer probably. So we'll see. But yeah, so that's it for today. I hope you guys learned something, as today's video is pretty long. My throat is dying now. I'm really tired. But yeah, that's it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you learned something. This series is getting kind of difficult. I'm not sure how much longer it's going to be. But if you guys want to support me, I have a Patreon. I also have a Discord. I would love you guys to join. If you don't want a Patreon, that's totally fine. But totally join my Discord. It definitely helps to see how many of you guys are engaging with me. Always leave a comment down below, share, like, and I will see you guys next time. Bye-bye.